Hey, what's happening, guys, and welcome to yet another tutorial with myself, Howie Combrink, on the Hit Lab Academy for YouTube. Today, we are going to be speaking about mixing your, you guessed it, 808s. So let's get into it. I used to love listening to bands like Rage Against the Machine, Limp Bizkit, purely for one thing and one thing only: the big, heavy drops. I mean, there is a video from Limp Bizkit at Woodstock 99, I think it was, in the United States, where they basically played a track and they dropped and the crowd went absolutely crazy. It was just heavy. In those days, heaviness and drops and all that sort of stuff were represented with distorted guitars and loud drums, crashing, banging drums. But I think in 2020, things have changed a bit. I mean, you go and watch a Travis Scott show and you're going to see people headbanging, mosh pitting, circle pitting. The drops are heavy and it is all 808 and sub stuff happening. It's not distorted guitars. It's cool sounding synths with heavier subsonic frequencies going on. Let's get into a project and see what I'm talking about, Joe. We're going to be mixing an 808 beat today. I've made a very simple beat. It's just a beat with a kick, a snare, and a hi-hat with a nice sub bass and a keyboard that is playing a bit of melody for us to work with today. So let's dive into the project and see what we're working with. Right, so in this project here, it's a very simple project. I've got the tempo set to 70 BPM. I've got an 808 bass, a kick, a snare, hi-hats, and some keys. So let me play the track for you, and then you can have a listen to see what we are working with here. Let me play this track for you. Right, this is what we're working with. It's a very simple piece of music. We're only working with 4 elements. We've got a bass, a kick, a snare, hi-hats, and some keys to give us that melody. Let's get right into it. The first thing I like to do is check out on a analyzer of sorts where my kick drum and where my sub bass is actually sitting with regards to frequency. So what I like to do is pull up the Logic equalizer here. And then on the kick drum channel, I'm going to pull up another equalizer, which is also the same one. It's got the analyzer option over there, which sort of allows you to see what's happening. So let's play the track again from where it drops and have a listen, and let's see what's happening. All right, so off the bat, we can see that around 60 hertz over here, we have the sub bass that is sort of peaking and booming around 60 hertz. And around 100 hertz over here, we've got the sub kick, the 808 kick. So now that I know what's happening with the sub activity, the first thing I like to do with these elements is I would go to the kick drum, have a listen to the whole beat on its own minus the bass. And then I like to first add a little bit of waves R bass. So if I pull up waves R bass over here, there we go. And now because the kick drum is heavy at around 100 hertz, I'm going to want to boost that a little more around 30 hertz all the way down there. So if I move that slider at the top there, which is selecting the frequency I'd like to push with R bass on the kick drum, it'll allow me to move the frequency right down to 30 hertz. So let's have a listen to that. And I'm going to bring the intensity down. So immediately, with just that on the kick drum, it feels like it is slightly fuller in the low end. And I think that is going to resonate quite a bit better in a club or on a big PA system. So I like to just enhance it a little bit with a bit of R bass at 30 hertz because we didn't have a lot of that 30 hertz activity happening on the kick drum sound initially. And 30 hertz is imperative when you're talking about big, heavy drops. But we don't want this bass this kick and these extra sub frequencies that we've just added to fight with our bass guitar. Now, our bass guitar is quite heavy around that area, but what I like to do is go to our bass again. And what I'm going to do over here is I'm simply at around 45 hertz. I'm going to add very little sub frequency to the actual bass that is happening. So let's have a listen to that and see how it's working. So that's actually feeling pretty cool. If I play that back for you and I bypass the R bass plugin that I've put onto the bass guitar, you're going to notice the difference and you're going to feel it. So I'm going to play the track back right now, and I'm going to let you basically watch me mute and unmute, and you can listen to the difference that's happening with the bass at the bottom there. That's really cool. It's feeling nice and full. The next thing I like to do on the actual bass sound, not the 808 kick, the next thing I like to do on the bass sound is actually just put a limiter to make sure that none of those sub frequencies are freaking out and sort of popping and causing troubles for us at the, if you were to turn the track up loud and there's lots of subs in the room, you don't want those subs to be popping and sort of like overexerting. You want them to work right, because subs are built for a specific purpose to give you subs, but you don't want to blow those subs up. So I like to pull in L1, which is the waves limiter, and then I just like to limit the signal with a nice fast release, and tends to just control those sub frequencies for me. So how I do that is I play the track and then I'll bring the link slider down until I can actually see the limit coming in over there at about 1 dB or so, and then I know I'm in a good place. So let's play that and let me work on that a bit. So that's added quite a bit of excitement to that bass guitar. It's given a little bit of resonance, but it just feels better. Now, the next thing that's bugging me is my 808 snare that's happening. I feel like it is almost not punchy enough. So what I like to do with that is I like to then move on to waves again and go to a plugin called Smack Attack. Smack Attack is a really cool plugin. And basically all I use it for is enhancing my attack and reducing my sustain, or vice versa. So let's do a bit of that on the snare drum and let's see what's happening. That's feeling a little better for me. I'm missing a bit of reverb on that snare, so I've already preset a room reverb over here. I like to use Valhalla Room for this particular sort of thing. I've set Valhalla Room to 1 second with 10 milliseconds pre-delay. We are allowing the high cut to work at around 8,000 hertz. And the depth is at 50% and the mix at full because it is a bus send. So I'm going to dial that in a bit and let's see what happens. So I would probably automate that attack and the decay within Smack Attack, these two knobs over here. I would probably automate my sustain a little bit and reduce the sustain for the verses. And when those choruses drop, I'll open the sustain up a bit to give me a little bit of length on that signal. Then the next thing that's really bugging me a bit here with my hi-hats is the fact that they are not punching enough. So I'm going to open up Smack Attack again, and I'm going to get a nice tight attack with a short sustain on that hi-hat so that it really just punches. It just sits there, sits nice and tight. It is the meat of modern hip-hop music. It's your basses and your hi-hats. They want to hear those 808 hats singing in their ears. So let's see what we can do with that. right, those hats are feeling good. I enhanced them a little bit, but I'm finding that they are a little bit too dark. So I'm going to try and brighten them up a bit. And this is tricky because you actually need an equalizer that can go pretty high up, because you're looking for around about between 12 kilohertz to 16 kilohertz roughly. So I really enjoy the SSL EQ for this sort of stuff. We've got this knob up here that allows us to go all the way right up to 16, which is great. So we're going to put it on 14. We're going to play it back and see if we can bring those hats up a bit. That is feeling so cool. That is feeling so great. The next thing I want to do is just have a listen to what my actual keyboard is doing in this whole scenario and see how that is working. So let's have a listen to that. All right, so off the bat, what I want to do is I want to bring up a Sheps EQ. And what this is going to do for me, this is going to just give me a little bit of tops at about 12K over there for my kick drum, just to bring it out. Just a little bit. It just brings it out a little bit. Now, the last thing on this track, not that we're really working on keyboards, but just for the sake of this tutorial, all I want to do to that keyboard is I want to add a 4-second Valhalla reverb onto it to give it a bit of space. So let's dial that in and have a listen. That sounds so much better with just a bit of 4-second reverb. And the next thing I'm going to do is just pull out the lows all the way through to around about 100 hertz over there, roughly, so that nothing in that keyboard fights with our bass. We don't want the keyboard to fight with our bass. In the same way that we have split those frequencies on the kick drum and the 808 sub bass in order to get the subs to work in that from 30 hertz all the way through to 100 hertz. We want that just to be for the kick and the bass, the bottoms of the mix. The keyboard is your mid-range stuff, and that is it's essentially the meat of the track, is that keyboard. It's the thing that keeps you there. So what I'm going to do is just high pass it like I've done over there. Let's have a listen. Let's see what the drop feels like. And then I think we're about good for today. That is sounding so great. The last thing I'm going to do is pull up a room reverb, that same room reverb which I used on the snare for the hi-hats. Let's dial that in. Just a touch of reverb to give it a bit of space, and it makes the whole beat feel better. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. It's been really fun. If you enjoyed this video, please like the video, leave us a comment below for the algorithm, and most importantly, please go and subscribe and ring the bell button on our channel so that you can get notified when we upload videos just like this. Until next time, folks, I will see you soon. Peace.